What's good, y'all? Welcome back to another video. I know. I don't post as frequently, but I have my reasons. But anyways, when I do come back to the camera, I always feel like I got some heat. So, without further ado, let's get into it. So I have this piece of writing here. It's about 3 pages long. I wanted to share with y'all. I did revise it a little bit. Just a little thumbnail. Before I, wanted to share it with y'all, just because I wrote this on the spot when I was working, and there was some stuff that I had to, change just to make it more, I guess, easier to read. Because there were some errors and this and that, but I got them all sorted out. So, anyways, this piece of writing is called "We Are Too Busy Thinking." Here we go. Nowadays, thinking is becoming a problem for humanity as we tend to think too much. This can make us lost in our head with the abyss of thoughts that we sail through in every moment. As creators, it is beneficial to think, as our minds are vessels that create, communicate, and experience. But when it is overused, we lose touch of our external world. I lost track. It's because I was looking at the camera. I'm just gonna focus on reading. We lose touch of our external world since we have been absorbed and become lost in the sea of thoughts in our internal world. Our mind can sometimes race in places where we don't want to be, and that's okay. We are only human in this realm after all. But as humans, we have scales of morals, actions, and disciplines. Scales of morals, actions, and discipline that affect how we live, think, and feel thanks to the human consciousness. We must balance these worlds as one so we don't get lost in one or the other. The 5D and the 3D exist as one cannot exist without the other, which allows us to use this dualism as we please with our free will. Free will is a blessing, but when it is abused, we will be punished in whatever way and manifest in our lives. We think in every moment, which gives us so many opportunities to choose the most authentic decisions based on how a thought makes us feel. It can become extremely hard to make authentic decisions because of how crowded our internal world is. An example is an average person. As we think about bills, work, food, stability, and also the usual everyday things. That is a lot of energy being directed inward to our internal world. That energy could be directed towards creation to mold our reality, our external world, into something great. It's our own fault as humans that we think so much. We created this system of entrapment for ourselves, which makes us think about unnecessary stuff like what ifs or what coulds. Thinking is the mind's job, while overthinking is stress's job. Stress is a very common program within us, as more work and less rest becomes our new normal. But there are things we can do that can benefit our minds. Mindfulness. Mindfulness allows us to balance our internal world as well as our external world so we can operate at our fullest and greatest potential. These are 3 things we can do to balance ourselves out and exterminate the program of our overthinking. Consumption, stillness, and letting go. These three things are important as each topic affects us how we feel and think on a momentary basis. Feelings are especially important as we think based on how we feel internally, which could affect us positively or negatively in each moment we exist. Consumption. We consume in every moment as we use our senses to perceive and absorb things and people. This is why what we consume is so important, as it affects us consciously and subconsciously. Conscious programming is much easier to deconstruct than subconscious programming, as subconscious is deeply rooted in the mind, while conscious is near the surface of our mind. Depending on what we take in through your senses, like watching, listening, or learning, will contribute to your conscious and subconscious mind. This will then determine how we feel in every moment. So with this being said, be aware of what we feed our minds, as it could contribute to a low vibrational version of ourself that could affect how we feel, which then affects how we think. This leads to more or less thinking based on what we feed our minds in every moment. So with that, feed our minds with high vibrational materials and resources to get the best out of our minds. Stillness. Stillness involves choosing actions that brings one to stillness, specifically mindful habits and activities. Stillness forces us to take a step back from the mind and exist in our most authentic form, oneness. An excellent way to achieve stillness is meditation, but there are other habits and activities to do, such as journaling, exercise, and creation. There are also many other ways to achieve and experience stillness, as we all have outlets, but those are just a few. Whatever action we do that brings stillness, do it, as it fits who we are at the core. The more comfortable we become with stillness, the more we will want to be in stillness. The more stillness we experience, the more our minds will become cleaner and calmer. When stillness becomes a normal aspect of our lives, you will begin to see that it makes it easier to let go. Letting go. Letting go is not an action. It's a state of consciousness as it is. Let me repeat that sentence. Letting go is not an action. It's a state of consciousness as it simply is. The things I stated above make our minds healthier, calmer, and clearer. This helps with achieving the state of letting go, as with letting go there is no action to do. Letting go is when you float as one with all, without an interruption or disturbance, no matter our internal and or external world is like, from the perspective of consciousness. The reason why I say the two things before letting go are important is because it makes it easier to exist and let go. The less your mind wanders in thought, the less energy there is to process. This allows us to exist in letting go without a whirlwind that could tempt us to focus on a thought. Let go by existing. The mind is an illusion. It is its own entity. There is no label to put on what we are. It's authentic to be rather than to act. Thoughts, feelings, and emotions. They are all part of the human experience, but it is meant to feel real so that we become attached to it all. All this experience is a play with no control. But that itself is more comforting than to want to control what has happened and what is happening in the moments we exist in. That was the piece of writing that I wrote. Now I will sort of just talk about overthinking in general, because overthinking is like it's a very normal thing now because of all the stuff that we have to deal with. And it's not our fault that we overthink. Usually it's just there to make sure that we're not bored in the moment. I feel as if our mind would rather overthink and overjudge and overdo anything in the internal world just to make sure that it's not experiencing that stillness. And that's what the mind is here to do. It's just here to make sure that we are out of the moment and focused on whatever is going on internally. And if we're too focused on the internal world, then we're not going to get anything done in the outer world, external world. But with all this, with these things that I said that you could add to your life or just be more aware of, like consumption, stillness, and letting go, it can be very beneficial to your mind, and especially the consumption part of this passage, because we consume every single day, and depending on what we consume can affect how we think and feel on an everyday and momentary basis. So when you're there just watching reels or something, or maybe reading something, your mind is intaking all that data and information and keeping it in the back. Not necessarily you'll be conscious of all the information that you absorb and learn and watch and see and listen to, whatever. But it's still storing it in the back somewhere. And that itself, you should be aware of that. You know, just because you're passing by everything by scrolling or watching or listening or this and that, you're not really paying attention to what is being consumed. You kind of just like it just because it makes you feel good, or because it's entertaining, or it's filling some sort of space within you in that moment. So when we consume stuff, it should be high vibrational material, or else it's going to get us trapped in this lower consciousness state with the information that is being shared to us or learned or whatever. When it comes to the stillness and letting go part, though, those are things that you have to be consistent with in order for it to be in effect. Because when we have our mind going and going and going, we never are able to sit back and relax. And, you know, it's hard to kind of just chill back and relax and rest nowadays, but you will find time. I mean, I find time to rest and relax. And though I could be using that time to make a video or something, I still would rather use that time to rest and regroup, because I don't want myself to be burnt out, nor do I want my mind to be driven to insanity by how much I'm doing. So it's all about balance. And when you balance your internal world and your external world, things will start to just work out, and you'll start to see a difference in your life. And I'm not saying it's going to be like a extreme difference, like, oh yeah, you're going to be like immediately rich, like as soon as you start doing this. No, it doesn't start like that. You can't change the world if you can't control yourself. And that's the thing. With overthinking, we don't have any control over it, but there is things that we can do to make it better for ourselves in order to reach our greatest potential. I want to go back to this thing that I wrote. It was like the last paragraph. The mind is an illusion. It is its own entity. There is no label to put on what we are. It's authentic to be rather than to act. Thoughts, feelings, and emotions. They are all part of the human experience, but it is meant to feel real so that we become attached to it all. All this experience is a play with no control. But that itself is more comforting than to want to control what has happened and what is happening in the moments we exist in. I just want to emphasize that the mind is an illusion, because it really is. Like I said here, it's its own entity. It's always going to be doing what it wants, with or without your input. And that's the thing. When the only thing we have control over is our thought. I mean, not our thoughts, our actions. And when our mind is so crowded and overthinking all the time, you're not going to have the right judgment to make those high vibrational actions, if that makes any sense. Because depending on where you are at consciously will affect what decisions you make in each moment. And when you practice these things like being aware of what you consume and stillness and letting go, your mind becomes like a fine-tuned guitar. And when you play it, you make amazing music. And when I say I'm making amazing music, when you play it for your mind, you're making amazing decisions. And also the conscious programming and subconscious programming thing, that itself is a whole nother video that I might write about. Because conscious and subconscious programming, those are things that those start from the beginning. Like those start from when we're children. Conscious and subconscious programming is just a way to control the masses. And you know, there's a certain point in our lives where I feel like we all start to question like who we are or what we want to do or this and that. It's always that certain age where we start to question things. And you know, that's the whole point of conscious and subconscious programming, especially with today's society, the Western society. The Western society just wants to brainwash you and program you into being in the system that they created, because that's what they want you to do. They want you to grow up. They want you to vote. They want you to work. They want you to be involved in society. They want you to do this and that. And in the end, it's all there so that you can play their role, so that you are beneficial to them instead of you kind of just being there and living in their society without, you know, really putting anything towards the society. I'm just looking at this real quick. Balance in the 5D and 3D. I think this is the last thing that I am going to explain. And then I'm gonna cut the video because I got some chores to do. It's my day off. I'm making a video on my day off. I felt like that was the best time to do it. But I still have stuff to do when I'm not working because that's just how life works. But the 5D and 3D are very important. The 3D is, your mind, your internal world, your external world. And then you have the 5D, which is beyond the mind. That is consciousness right there. That's oneness. That's unity, the universe, existence. And this goes hand in hand with overthinking, because the 3D is very intoxicating. Like, it is very addictive, okay? It's very easy to get attached to the 3D. But when you're too attached to the 3D, you're not the best you could be, because you're too absorbed in the 3D reality rather than being in the middle of the 3D and 5D. There's a middle ground where you are grounded in the 3D, but you are still existing from the 5D. And that's the thing as well, is when you exist in perfect balance between the scales of duality, that's when you can actually make good decisions. And there's no possible way to be able to do this without disciplining yourself to do the things that are beneficial to your mind, but also to your soul. And that's why I emphasize this overthinking thing. Like, try to help yourself and, I guess, slow yourself down and stop yourself from overthinking, because when you overthink, you're too attached to the 3D, because your mind is going and you're just looking at your mind, you're listening to your mind, you're not really focused on anything else besides what's going on in your mind. And that's the thing, when you're attached to your mind too much, your focus is only going to be on the mind. It's not going to be on anything else. So you can't focus on the 3D and the 5D and trying to balance them, because you're too focused on the 3D and, overthinking. And I'm not going to, say like, these are the absolute 3 things that you have to do in order to, achieve not overthinking. Like, no, that's not what I'm saying. These are suggestions from my experience that I feel as if someone could put to use. And like I said in the passage, I said that there are different ways and many other ways that we can, help ourselves from overthinking. And everybody has their own way. I'm not you, but you are you. So you know what's best for you in order to not overthink. And I'm sure you have your best judgment on what you should do or what you could do or what, you simply are, in order to, clean that mind, sculpt it, and make it calmer. Whenever our soul talks to our mind and wants to transfer energy from the 5D to the 3D, it's always going to be like a flip or a click or just something. Sometimes it's a whisper in your mind, because your soul is very soft and quiet. It's powerful. That's why it doesn't have to say much, because it is energy that just exists. But when your mind is too loud, and your ego is going, and there's overthinking going on, it's very hard to I guess adopt and absorb that 5D energy for yourself, because everything is going on in the 3D. You're not really focused on the 5D. Everything's too loud inside your mind in order to hear the whisper that your soul has for you. And that's okay. We all have different lives. We all experience different things. And even though life can be difficult or annoying or frustrating or saddening or anything, sometimes that's all right, because the universe will never put you through something you weren't able to handle. And it's really just growth and expansion and evolution that you are experiencing when you are facing difficulties or struggles. It's just there to make you stronger. And I hope you know that, and I hope that you trust yourself and what you do in order to get yourself to where you want to be. Anyways, sorry, I went on a little tangent here. I think I'll probably take some pictures of this passage and post it on the community tab, just so you can read it. There was some stuff that I changed on there, but I don't really care. As long as you get the the main things that I'm talking about, that's what I care about. So yeah, I'll take some pictures of this passage and put it in the community tab, along with posting this video. But I always feel like when I write something, I want to say it from my words and with my voice, because I feel like it's powerful that way. But anyways, I love y'all. Stay present and stay safe. Peace.